Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Rittner of the Rittner Floral School in Boston, Mass. It's a pleasure to welcome you into one of our classrooms today. The topic? Big. We call this one the Big White and Green Design, and you're going to see why. This is going to be a fun one. Notice we've got a container here. The container is fairly large right to begin with, and we've got some foam on the top, and we're ready to go. And in order to create height on our design, we're going to use some branchy stuff. This stuff is called birch branch. It is big, it is beautiful, and notice if I take this and poke this into my container, immediately we've got great height associated on this design. Now you can see as we look at it, we've got to actually bring the camera up to show you just how big it actually is with the birch branch. As I say to my students here at Rittner's Floral School in Boston, you make it bigger, ka-ching, ka-ching, you can charge more for it, and that is great. So let's make this one a big one and have some real fun with it. I love birch branch. It's a neat material and very, very easy for us to come by. And let's play with a few other things. One of my favorite new materials, this is called Xanadu. It's brought in by the people at Blooming and Belloyd. They're bringing it in from Israel. It is an incredible foliage. It's very, very structural in its feeling, and we can come up with some very, very cool effects with the Xanadu foliage. And I'm going to take some of my Xanadu foliage and create some linear effects on my design. The thing I like about the Xanadu is it is very, very expressive. And using this, we can really create interesting effects. Although it's a foliage, notice it's very, very architectural. And I'm taking a few pieces and I'm using it to create the overall contour and outline of my design. So that before I even have a flower in place, by taking some of our Xanadu, notice that this is giving us a context, a frame as it were, that we're going to be building this design on. That's one reason I love this material that is now coming in from Israel, because it makes it so easy to achieve great effects quickly, easily, and effectively. I've worked some over here and coming over on this side. Let's continue using some of the Xanadu over on this side of the design as well. And I'm going to place one over there. I'm going to start working some over down here as well in terms of some pieces of our Xanadu. This stuff is just so cool. It almost designs itself. It's so easy to work with. You can really come up with some cool effects. And notice that with a few pieces of our Xanadu foliage, we're really coming up with something that is really, really neat. So I'm taking this, worked it here, a few over here. I got one more piece I think I'm going to work in here. And I'm going to just work it over on this side. And you can see we've got something that really gives us a very, very interesting effect. Now, let's start playing with some flowers. And in terms of doing our flowers, if we're going to go with something that's white and green, well, let's see. There are all kinds of neat things that we have that are both white and green. One of my favorites, anthurium. Anthurium comes in a wide variety of different colors today. We can get them in, of course, in the traditional red-orange. We can get them in reds. We can get them in white. We can get them in green. We can get them in all kinds of rainbow colors. Let's place a few of our anthurium in here. Anthurium are a very interesting kind of flower because they have this kind of weird texture to them in terms of almost feeling like they're artificial even though they're live. Some people like them. Some people, it's an acquired taste. I think that you really have to examine your own feelings when you're working with this as to whether you want to use anthurium in your designing. And also, it depends on the person who the design ultimately is going to be used for. Some people love the stuff, some people don't, and therefore I would use it accordingly. I think it's interesting material. It gives a very, very interesting kind of context and contrast with the Xanadu while staying within our green kind of coloring scheme. Now I did say that this is going to be a white as well as green design, and that's definitely going to be the case. To come up with the white effect, how about some of our Fujis? Our Fujis have been around forever. They're a very, very popular flower, of course, in the chrysanthemum family. They hold up very well. They come in a wide variety of colors besides being in the green. Besides being in the white, they also come in green. They come in many, many different kinds of different approaches as far as our Fujis. We can get them in yellows, we can get them in green, we can get them in bronzes. They really work so well for us. And I'm going to take a few of our Fujis and work them into our design working them coming down and around amongst our anthurium. It doesn't take too many of these things, really, if you think about it, to come up with an interesting effect. And so working something here, maybe one over here, and then maybe something coming down over on this side as well. So we're mixing our Fujis in with our anthurium to come up with an interesting effect. Now, I still have a lot of space in this design, and I could stop at this point if I wanted to, but I want to play with it just a little bit more. And in order to play with it just a little bit more, let's take another flower that is now coming in from Israel. This is called the Trichdianthus, And I want to take some of my Trichdianthus and play with this one as well. This one is a really, really cool flower. It is coming in again from the folks of Blooming Abelloid, or bringing it in from Israel. It is a very, very pretty flower. It gives an interesting effect. And I'm going to take just a few of my Trichdianthus and work them in here and there through my design so that it just adds a little bit more in terms of texture as well as color. Pretty cool, huh? These things are not hard to do, and you can come up with some really, really neat effects. So notice, we've got here in our design our birch branch. We have some of our Xanadu foliage here, 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 coming around here and over onto this side. We've got our 3 anthurium coming over here, some Fuji shooting around over here, and then a few of our Trichdianthus to give a very, very interesting effect. Now, some of you may be saying to yourself, myself, he's using a lot of green and white here. Is this for a St. Patrick's Day design? Well, it sure could be. We could present this for St. Patrick's Day the way you see it here. We could work in a shamrock. Here I've got a glittering shamrock we could work into, and it could be very appropriate in that context. But it's not limited to that, and that's why I'm presenting it as a big white and green design. This design could also be used, for example, for Christmas. I could leave it the way it is here, or perhaps take some gold millimeter balls or pine cones and work some ornaments into it to give a more Christmassy effect. Also, the use of white along with some of our greens, and especially some of these kinds of greens, is very, very effective at any time of the year. It works very, very well. I'd enjoy something like this, for example, in an entry hall during the summertime, and it would work very well for that, or possibly for party use. So this is a very, very versatile design, and that's why we're presenting it as a big white and green design. Well, what do you think, my viewer? Quick, easy, fun? Quick, easy, and fun. That's the Rittner Floral School way. This is Dr. Steve Rittner on behalf of the staff and students at Rittner Floral School in Boston, Mass. It was a pleasure having you come in and visit with us today. We hope that you enjoyed this brief presentation. And try some of these things. Get out your Xanadu, get out your anthurium, get out some birch branches, create, and have a lot of fun with flowers. Thanks for coming in and visiting with us today.